Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Players Take, episode 62. I am your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, the quarantined man, Montrell Rice.
Hey, what's up? What's up, everybody?
Oh, man. How are you doing? How are you doing in this new, brave, new quarantined world?
Yeah, sorry I left you last week. I was going through a lot, but I'm doing a lot
Don't worry
better
about it.
now.
Hey, man, I got it done. I got it done. I
Yeah, I
think I
listened
held
to it.
it
It was
down
really
okay.
good. Yeah, man, it was really good. I listened to it. It was nice.
I was surprised I went 45 minutes. I finished it. I was like, holy shit, dude. I just kept talking, but, made it work, man.
Yeah, so yeah, but I just been playing some video games that got me through a lot, and yeah, I've been doing really well so far.
Word. All right, well, let me get through the rigmarole before we start talking about what games you've been playing. For those of you who haven't listened before, The Players Take is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. Let us start with what we've been playing. I mean, in this world, man, I've been playing a lot. I'm sure you have too, so go ahead. You start, sir.
So I've been playing Neo 2. I'm on the last, not the last mission, but the last, I think the last region, I believe.
Jesus Christ, man. I still haven't played this game since the last time I talked about it. Ugh.
I've been doing some expeditions with some people off of Twitter, predominantly the 9-0. His name's 9-0.
Yeah.
Me and him been doing some missions with each other, and it was actually pretty fun. And I also been playing PSO2 or Fantasy Star Online 2.
Ooh.
So I have some thoughts about this game.
I've played it, so I also have thoughts.
Yeah, to me, I feel like this game would have been really cool way back in 2012 when it came out. Like when it first came out, before we got a lot of better things that are more fleshed out.
I think this game would have been cool back in like 2007. This game is jank as fuck. Like, I'm going to be honest about it. It is a janky game.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff doesn't really make any sense with it. It just, the mission structure, everything is just out of whack. And I'm like,
story, yeah, all of it, dude. I'm with you.
And they had like 7 years to fix this game, and or 8, I think. Because I think it came out in 2012 in Japan.
It did. Yep.
So, yeah. So I don't. So I had the same thought too when I played it. When I got downloaded the patch and everything, the English patch in like 2014, and I went through all the rigmarole to get a Japanese account and all that stuff. And
I did all that too.
And I had the same thoughts I had then are the same thoughts I have now. I was just like, I can do without this. And that's exactly, I've been trying to play a little bit more, but then put like maybe 15, 20 hours into it. And then I just gave up on it. I'm like, nah, I'm good on it.
Well, dude, like, so it's an interesting, is the translation, obviously, I would assume the translation is better than the translation patch that people made, like fans made.
Yeah, it's way better than that.
Okay, so it's like coherent. It feels coherent. It doesn't feel like broken, like cobbled together English.
No. They actually have like actual voice actors and everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, so yeah, dude, like, because the game is, the game's not bad. I don't want to paint it in that light.
It's not bad. It just feels like, it just feels very 2012. Like that's how that's how I can describe it.
Right. Well, it's free to play. It has a cash shop. It has all the free to play kind of accoutrements of a free to play MMO. Cash shop with like XP boosters and currency and all sorts of boosters and extra shit you can buy. And but the game is weird because it has I think it has like 12 classes or something like that, right?
Yeah, like 8 or 12 classes. Something like that. And
they're actually pretty cool. I think that the classes themselves are cool. It's just when you start playing the game, it just feels so like jank. I don't know how else to describe it.
That's the perfect word I was looking for. I didn't know the word I was looking for to describe it, but it does. It feels really jank. Like
movement speed is insanely fast from what I remember, but it's like targeting is like imprecise. It's just like it feels like you're like. You'll be next to an enemy and you're out of range, even though you feel like you're in range. And it's just like, it's just a weird game, man. It's hard to describe and explain, but I'm totally with you on it. It's like, I kind of want to play it, but it's one of those things. It's an Asian MMO, so it's super grindy. So it's like, I don't want to subject myself to 100 hours or 200 hours of grinding in a game that plays the way that game does, you know? So it's like I
Yeah.
haven't really, as exciting as it is for it to finally be coming west. I just don't know. I don't know if it's really going to grip as much of an audience as it, the cultness of it kind of indicates. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's. I feel like what's the other MMO that just came out? Black Desert.
Black Desert, right?
Yeah, Black Desert does what it's supposed to be doing. What Fantasy Star Online is doing better. I like Fantasy Star Online setting better. I like the futuristic in space thing because that's like kind of like the sci-fi. That's my thing. But
Right.
as far as like pure mechanics and things of that nature, action combat for MMO, I think Black Desert does it. And Terra, for that instance, does it way better than Fantasy Star. They took what they did for Fantasy Star Universe and Fantasy Star Online 1, and they improved it, especially in Terra. Terra is like way improved over this game.
Okay.
Um,
And they've done nothing with this game, is what it feels like.
yeah, they added a couple classes here and there, and to me, that's all it looked like they feel like they did. But I mean, I haven't been playing the game for 8 years, so I'm pretty sure Fantasy Star enthusiasts will highly disagree with me. But from when I came from the 2014 patch, English patch, to now, the only difference is it's more bearable because everything's in English, and I can maneuver around the menus. But even that on the Xbox is like terrible. Maneuvering around the menus. I feel like this game was definitely designed for a keyboard and mouse.
Oh yeah, oh for sure. Yeah, definitely. I'm thinking about the way the game controls. It's just like movement speed is so fast that like you probably lose control of your character so much on the controller.
Yeah, yeah. Not to mention the targeting system is not the best. So
Nope.
I feel like the game was just designed for keyboard and mouse, or if you had a Vita. So like as far as like menus and things of that nature, right? So it's like all the functionalities aren't there for the controller. You can pretty much go into 90% of all the menus, but some things are like locked behind, like you need to scroll over to see things, and they don't have that functionality on the on the controller. But when I plug in my keyboard and mouse, which you can do on the Xbox, it works fine. Everything works fine. The controls work fine and everything like that. For me, I just prefer the combat on a controller. I feel like it was made for that, but then I feel like the interface was made for keyboard and mouse, which is weird.
Well,
So
dude, I remember because the game, from what I remember, because I played like a ranged character, I remember using your mouse almost like a third-person shooter. Like it wasn't like tab targeting or anything like that. Like you actually aimed your character at enemies and had to be looking at them to hit them, kind of thing with your camera. So I think it played fairly well on keyboard and mouse from what I remember. But I'm just remembering the weird shit about this game more than anything is that the story was just so nonsensical, and I had no idea what was going on. I remember there was a mission in some point, probably 10 or 15 hours in, where you go to like an alternate version of the Earth or something like that, and I didn't know what the fuck was happening. And you start fighting inside this like metropolis city, and there are these giant like monsters running around destroying buildings and shit, and it's like it's just the weirdest experience. It's so far removed from the original Phantasy Star Online that it's like I don't even understand how this is a sequel to that game because it makes like no sense whatsoever to me. I don't know.
yeah, I agree with you. I have no idea what's going on in this game. Your companion character is fucking annoying as shit.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Um, I don't know why I glorified this game in my head. Maybe because it was because of Fantasy Star Universe I played on the Xbox 360.
Dude. It's the internet, dude. It's just I think the internet hyped the game up because we could never have it. It's that concept of that like you want what you can't have,
Yeah.
And we all hyped this game up because we wanted it because we like Phantasy Star Online, but the reality is that it's probably an above average Asian style MMO, that are like those games are like a dime a dozen over there,
Yeah.
It has all those trappings, it has all those weird ass currencies and like these like lotto tickets you can get and like lotto boxes and all sorts of weird ass shit that Western MMOs don't have that kind of stuff, It
Yeah,
has all
yeah.
that stuff in this game, and it's weird, and I don't mind it per se. It's like I actually don't like. I kind of enjoy that stuff a little bit, but it's just the game is like super grindy though. That you can't get away from that. That's what I remember most about it. I think I made it to like level 30 or 35 or something like that before I stopped playing, and I'm pretty sure the level cap was like 100 or something. It felt like it was taking forever. So
Yeah, it's pretty weird. I mean, I'm a stickler for like armor and stuff like that. When I play MMOs, I want the best looking armor as well as the best stats. But I do like to have like a little fashion sense with it as well. So I like cool looking armor. With this game, the armor is not armor. Like it's pieces that you put onto
yeah,
you, so you can get like little wings or like little gauntlets or little leg
yeah,
things. But like you have a base armor that never changes. If that makes any sense.
yeah.
So it's very like Korean MMO-ish
Mm-hmm.
in that aspect. I feel like they definitely designed it for the East. It was not designed for the West, and I do see why they were hesitant on bringing it over here and without any kind of backing. So I mean, Xbox is obviously backing this, and that's why it's over here on Xbox right now. Not to mention, I mean, the previous relationships but it's so weird though because Fantasy Star Universe did really well over here in the West. Like not
Mm.
amazing, but it did well enough where they had a whole subscription and people were
Was that
buying the
game good?
subscription. Fantasy Star Universe, yeah, I loved it.
Man, I never played it. I always wanted to.
It was like Fantasy Star Online 1.5. It wasn't all the
Do you
way
think it
there.
holds up?
No, no,
Damn it,
nah.
man. That sucks.
Yeah, it was like Fantasy Star 1.5, I would say. It was a really
Yeah,
cool
I
game.
think that's what I want. That's the disappointing part about this game is that what I really want is like an actual sequel to Fantasy Star Online that plays like that game.
Yeah,
Not exactly like that game because frankly that game is clunky and slow and weird, in the way it works. It doesn't play like a modern video game in any way, but like a modern take on that style,
yeah,
with
yeah.
like the random dungeons and random rooms and enemies and stuff like that. I think
Yeah,
they can make something really cool with that.
that's exactly what Fantasy Star Universe was. Like the combat was faster, but they had the same animations, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But everything was more fleshed out as far as like combat and things of that nature, what you can do.
Right.
And that's what I expected from this game. But this game, like I like the melee classes, but it just feels so janky. Like I don't know. Like
Yeah.
it's cool that I can juggle enemies in the air with my certain moves and things of that nature. But it's just like, you do the same thing. You don't get enough combos. I think that's what it is right there. Like for melee characters, you don't get enough combos. I think the range characters look really cool in this
Yeah, they're
game.
fun. I mean, kiting is very viable in that game because, like I said, movement speed's so fast. Like you move faster than most enemies most of the
Yeah,
time. And there are speed buffs even too for certain classes too. So you can like it is a skill based game. I feel like it's just like learning how to play it in the jank, and get good at that.
yeah, yeah.
So
Because I think I've seen high level play of it, and I think it's really cool. But I think the thing is, it's not a bad game. Like I'm not saying that in any sense. I think it's just not for me. That's what I'm getting
right,
at. I think
right,
like a game like Terra is my style. Like where it's that good mix of like standard MMO ish, but has that action MMO element to it. Um, Even when I play Black Desert, I don't really like the whole action feel of it because it looks like if I feel like my character is just way overpowered. But with Terra, I don't get that sense of it at all. So
mm-hmm. Right.
then I've been playing Mass Effect 2.
Mm.
Um,
Wait, did you end up playing Mass Effect 1?
yeah, I finished that.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, we haven't talked in 2 weeks, so
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
that's true.
you
Yeah.
gotta give us your thoughts on that,
All
man.
right, so Mass Effect 1, fuck the combat. That shit is terrible. I'm sorry. I tried. I mean, I did do
Look,
it.
bro, you had this argument with me that The Witcher 1's combat was worse than Mass Effect 1's, and I told you to go fuck yourself. Do you feel the same now?
I still feel the same
Fuck
way.
that shit. That's bullshit. Mass Effect 1's
But
combat's trash, man.
holy shit, this game, as far as combat wise, I'm just like, I was there. I was so ready to just jump into Mass Effect 2. But I still want, like, every time I play Mass Effect games over, I do all the side content, all the side
Yep.
quests and everything
Oh
of that
yeah.
nature.
Yep. I mean, it's only about 35 hours maybe in
Yeah,
Mass
it
Effect
was
1
only
to do all that.
35. I finished it in about 34, 35 hours.
Yeah, I think that's where I
So
was at too.
it wasn't that bad. It was just, man, I see why people hate the Mako scenes now or the Mako stuff because it's just like I don't feel like doing that anymore. Like I see why they cut it out of Mass Effect 2 because I was just like, bro, I'm over this. Like,
well, when you get stuck in the environment or something and you're just trying to get from point A to point B and you get this planet that is like the topology literally makes no sense. There isn't a flat piece of ground in the entire fucking planet. And the Mako's just bouncing around like it's in a fucking bouncy house. It's just like by the end of the game, I couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't.
So yeah, I was playing it right, and also I'm tired of side quests as well, where man, the same levels all
They're
the
not
goddamn
great.
time. Yeah, it's the same 2 dungeons all the time.
Mhm.
But besides that, I love the world building. I think the conversation trees and everything, like everything was just really fucking cool. And I
Right.
feel like the Mass Effect Arrival, DLC, Mass Effect 2 Arrival DLC, when you skip past that, I feel like it takes away all that because the world building in one is just phenomenal. Like it's still top notch, really good world building. You really get to learn all the characters and everything of that nature. And I feel like playing Mass Effect 2 builds on that. But you have to get that sense from Mass Effect 1, in my opinion, to understand, not to necessarily understand the world of Mass Effect 2, but like, so you meet Tali in Mass Effect 1 and she talks about the migrant fleet. Then you play Mass Effect 2 and then you get to go to the migrant fleet. You meet Rex in Mass Effect 1, he talks about Tachanka and how everyone is, how the Krogan are. And then Mass Effect 2, you go to Tachanka, right? Like you miss, like they focus on in the world, the galaxy map, they focus on the bottom half of the galaxy of that of the Milky Way. And then on Mass Effect 2, you're on the top half of that. And I thought that was just really cool how they did that because everything they talked about in Mass Effect 1, you go to in Mass Effect 2 that you didn't experience. So
you get to go in the Skillian Verge, you get to go through the Veil where the Geth are and stuff, which you don't do in Mass Effect 1 at all. Yeah.
Exactly. They're just introducing all these concepts and ideas to you. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I did get the conversation tree. Like I was where I didn't really have to fight Saren the first time. I had to fight him the second time, where he shot himself in the head. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I unlocked a lot of conversation trees that I didn't do the first playthrough. And I just thought that was pretty cool. A lot of stuff that you can skip just by talking really well. And in Mass Effect 2 as well, a lot of stuff you can skip just by talking really well to the characters or having that good conversation tree. I am disappointed in Mass Effect 2 skill tree, but I do appreciate how streamlined it is. Like I know a lot of people it's a hit or miss, and I know a lot of people didn't like that, but I actually liked it because sometime in Mass Effect 1, especially with the inventory system, I felt over fucking whelmed. I was just like, this is like way too much for me. And I love that type of stuff, but it was just like it was so janky, the inventory system.
Yeah.
But Mass Effect 2, it's really streamlined. I feel like it's a little bit too streamlined, but it's enough to where it's like, okay, I see what you guys are trying to do, and it moves me along, and the story carries me along, things of that nature. I still think the combat in Mass Effect 2 is fucking awesome. It's phenomenal. I forgot Mass Effect 1 really didn't have the tech combos and the biotic combos like that.
Nope. Yeah, it didn't.
And Mass Effect 2, they do. And I'm using that, and I'm playing on hardcore mode right now, and I'm just breezing through the game. And as far as the conversation trees, I feel like Mass Effect 2 still has the same depth of Mass Effect 1 as far as the conversation trees, but they streamlined it a little bit more. It's not as janky. Well, I wouldn't say it's janky, but it's not as repetitive. I did notice in Mass Effect 1, there are a lot of repetitive lines or repetitive things they say. Like I remember one time they're like, "Yeah, this is the Geth, this is the Geth, this is the Geth," in each like tree, and I'm like, I know who the Geth is now. Can we just get to the next conversation now? So I feel like Mass Effect 2 really did streamline that as far as like them not repeating themselves and things of that nature. One thing I do appreciate Mass Effect 2 is the planets and how they describe the planets and everything of that nature and the descriptions. Even though Mass Effect 1 had it, I feel like it wasn't as pretty, I should say. Like Mass Effect 2 is like really good. Like you got the
Yeah.
little ship going around the galaxy and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it, I can't put it down because I want to put it down, but I can't. Like I'm like I'm like into this game again.
Interesting. So
I'm like 25 hours into the game.
Okay, we had divergent experiences with this then, because back in January I beat Mass Effect 1 over a weekend, like a 4-day weekend or something.
Yeah.
And then I started playing Mass Effect 2, and I think I got about 15 hours into it, and I dropped it. I ended up dropping it, and I need to get back to it. But I just wasn't like, I don't know, something about it wasn't clicking with me, man. Like I told you, I think I said this on the pod, is I just think the storylines of 1, 2, and 3, 2 just feels like an intermission game that doesn't even need to exist, you know? Like you could take that game out and I feel like it wouldn't really impact Mass Effect 3, like the story they were trying to tell that much.
I will admit, okay. So I did read that on Reddit too, because I was looking for something that happened. I was looking for a plot hole in one of the DLCs from Mass Effect 2, which I feel like was a plot hole. I did come across that too. Some people were saying that Mass Effect 2, you don't really need. I feel like for the character and for the world, it was needed.
Yeah.
You wouldn't experience all that.
It's a character-driven game. That's what it is.
And I feel like that's needed because I feel like a lot of people did want to go see, the Quarians and the Myriad fleet, the Geth and Tachanka and all these other places. I feel like people wanted to see that, and they had the time to do that with the story because it's giving you an excuse now to go do that because it's not as much as the urgency.
But that's the thing, though, isn't it? They created a scenario where there's a lack of urgency, you know?
Yeah. I guess I can
like
say
coming off the first game, it felt like the Reapers were coming, you know, and then all of a sudden the second game starts. It's been 2 years. Everybody's forgotten about the Reapers. Nobody gives a shit, and then it's like there's no urgency. The Citadel wants to just get rid of you and bury you. Like they don't even care about you anymore.
Well, I felt like that was more realistic on a political aspect.
Right?
You don't want the galaxy to panic and be like, the Reapers are coming. Like if that was something that happened today, I feel like people want that stuff to get swept under the rug.
You're right. You're definitely right.
The politicians did that, and they were almost kind of happy that Shepard was dead and the Reapers weren't coming anymore and shit like that. Now the collectors, I do that whole scenario and Harbinger. I think that shit's kind of I think that shit's kind of like how you say that could have been done without. They could have did without the whole thing. They could have made a really story-driven game, or just based around the characters and let that main plot out. If that makes any sense, it could have just been a preparation for the Reapers. Like Cerberus saves you, and the Alliance is not freaking believing you and shit like that. And and now you have to prep this team that's getting ready for it. Because in Mass Effect 3, you don't even have half the team members that you experienced in Mass Effect 2.
Right.
So, Mass Effect 1 and 3, I definitely understand why people say that, but I feel like the urgencies in Mass Effect 1 and 3, we didn't have time to go visit these places. There wasn't an excuse to. But now in Mass Effect 1 and 3, or with 2, we can go experience these places and set up Mass Effect 3 a lot better, which I think this game does set it up a lot. I mean, the suicide mission, all that aside, I still think this is one of the greatest character development game in probably video games.
Right.
As far as having a squad and RPG and things of that nature, you really get to learn your characters and how they do. Because you know what? I mean, even though I said Garrus is my favorite, I played it again. I'm like, he's kind of a vigilante asshole. He's kind of like a Batman, well, not Batman, but he's I take the law into my own hands type deal.
He's like the Punisher almost.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the Punisher. He's I left the C-set because basically because he couldn't fucking kill people when they did shit wrong. So
right.
He became Archangel, and I thought that whole arc was really cool because I really saw that side of Garrus. I'm like, damn, he's like the Punisher. I understand why people like him, and I liked him in my first playthrough. But even in the last playthrough, he was like that. He was with the C-set in Mass Effect 1. He was just like, I want to be a Spectre. I want to do whatever the fuck I want to do. And it was you still have to follow rules and regulations and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Even with my Shepard, Renegade Shepard, sometimes she doesn't go as far as fucking Garrus does. It's Garrus is just really the Punisher. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
getting to
think
learn a lot of these characters over again, and I'm having different. I think the greatest character as far as voice acting, I think Tally's voice actor is really fucking good.
yes, really
I think
good.
she has a really good voice actor.
I like Liara's voice actress is really good.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, both versions of Shepard, male and femme Shep, I think are great.
Yes, I can finally see why people like Film Shep. I
Yeah,
didn't play through
I
her.
played as her too. Yeah, she's really good.
Yeah,
But yeah, in terms of the games, like I'm not sitting here trying to say that Mass Effect 2 is a bad game. Not
oh
trying to
yeah,
say
yeah,
that at all. Like in terms of singular experiences, Mass Effect 2 is the best game in the series. Like that is unquestionably the truth. It's just when you take the trilogy as a whole, Mass Effect
yeah.
2 kind of
It
sticks
is,
out compared to the other
yeah,
two games,
and I
for some
definitely get
obvious
that.
reasons. So it's just an interesting conversation to have. It's like it kind of almost seems obvious. It feels like in retrospect, like BioWare wanted to do some things in the universe and with this game, and they kind of took liberties with the story to make sure they could do those things.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that, and I see that. I am going to play after I beat 3, because I'm still in the middle of 2 right now, but I think I'm like 75% done with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to play 3, and 3 is not that long. I think that one's only like 20 hours long, maybe.
Yeah,
I'm going to play it
it's a little longer than that.
a
I feel
little
like
longer than that, about
I'd say
25,
30.
about 30. Okay, I
Yeah,
can do
Mass Effect
that.
2 is the longest one from what I remember. I think Mass Effect 2 is like 40, 45 maybe to do
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
But that it probably includes DLC though.
Yes, because I haven't done none of the DLCs. I did one of the DLCs, which is I think it's the Arrival DLC, not the Arrival DLC, but I forgot what it is. Wherever you
The
find a Reaper object and the Reapers are coming in 2 days, and you have to prevent that from happening. If
Oh
you
yeah,
haven't
that is
played that,
Arrival.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's Arrival. Okay, yeah. So, which I
Wait, you
thought
did
was a
that
plot
already?
hole.
I thought you can do that till after the story.
No, you can do that right, right off the gate. You can do that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So you can do all the DLC right out the gate, except for like I think one of them, but you can do
Mm-hmm.
all of them right out the gate. Like you can do Omega, you can do Firewalker, you can do Zahid's, like you can
Yeah.
get Zahid's
Yeah.
dossier and
Yeah, I got him immediately actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna play through Andromeda again to see if my opinion changes that game. I do remember the game combat being really good.
Yeah.
I did have a thought though, and so I was playing Mass Effect 1, and I remember just looking at the docs for Mass Effect Andromeda and the documentary for Mass Effect Andromeda and the behind the scenes and things of that nature and what they wanted to do. I felt like they could have did procedurally generated worlds that you can land on, but they would have to make certain worlds non-procedurally generated just for the story, if that makes any
Or
sense.
certain parts of those worlds, maybe.
Yeah. And I feel like they could have did that, and that could have been very viable. Because I know they wanted to do that, but they were having issues with the story. But I feel like they could have had the best of both worlds. Like
Mm-hmm.
some of these worlds are procedurally generated or whatever, based off the algorithms that you give it. But there may be one world in the system that is tied to the story, that it is totally, you know, story based, and they handcraft that world. And I feel like they could have did that, but I mean, hopefully they can do that with the next Mass Effect game. They figure that out, but I don't know.
Which, yeah, hopefully, supposedly, I think that's in development right now. So
Yeah,
excited about that. Okay, you've been playing anything else?
that's pretty much it.
Okay, I've been playing a lot actually. So I talked about Thronebreaker, The Witcher Tales last week, and I finished that on Sunday. I think it only took me about a
Oops.
week to finish.
So what's that? What's Richard Tales Thronebreaker? Is that like a
So
DLC?
I mentioned I was playing Gwent, which I'm going to get into here in a bit again. And it's kind of a spin-off of Gwent, the card game. You remember Gwent from Witcher 3, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so they made a standalone card, like digital card game, Gwent. And Thronebreaker was a tie-in to said card game that came out in October 2018 when the game officially launched out of beta, when Gwent did. And it's a story-driven game, and
Oh, okay.
it's like a point-and-click adventure game almost. I mean, that's a kind of a bad example.
Is it like
There's no
the
like puzzles
Pokemon?
per se, on the map. You control a character like you would in an ARPG, and you like click and they go there, you know.
Yeah,
And it's an
yeah.
isometric view, and there's like, you know, characters you can talk to, buildings you can interact with, things you can do, enemies you can run into, and stuff like that. And the combat fully takes place in Gwent. It's a Gwent game, you know, like you have a deck of cards, and you know, play those cards to beat your opponent. Certain battles are only 1 round, some battles are 3 rounds, some battles are puzzle battles where you get like a pre-built deck or a pre-built hand of cards, and you have to complete a specific objective within that match or whatever. And they're zany, they're all over the place. Like, you know, you have to like rocks will be falling, and you'll have to destroy all the rocks before they get to your final row or something like that. You know, it's
Okay.
interesting, weird stuff like that. Some of the battles are more straightforward, where it's just a battle of power, where you have to get more points than your opponent, the way Gwent actually plays. But the game has completely unique cards. Like, they're not taken from Gwent, but it is tied into Gwent in the sense that the cards in this game can be played in Gwent, but they're completely different versions of the card in the Gwent game, because obviously for balance purposes, like, this game is like completely off the rails with some of the shit they do with balance. Some of the combos you can pull off are insane. But so yeah, it's just a story-driven game. I think it's based off the novels, like one of the novels. That's what when I beat the game, the credits came down. It said, you know, based off the novelization by, you know, Andrzej Sapkowski or whatever his name is. So I think it is actually a story taken from the books. And it's a really interesting story though. It's, you know, it's about Nilfgaard invading the North, and the North kind of falling to them, but like one specific kingdom, which is the character you're controlling, they try to defy them or whatever, and that's kind of the game. You like running
Okay.
around trying to defy them and garner support so that you can actually challenge Nilfgaard, and that's the whole game basically, the story of the game. And there's 5 regions. They're all about 6 to 7 hours a piece probably. So the game's about 30 to 35 hours total if you kind of do everything. You can run through it a lot faster than that if you don't care about all the side stuff. But, you know, I was doing pretty much everything on every single map, so it took me about that long. It's a good experience. I'd say by the end of the game, I was definitely getting tired of it. I was kind of over it. I'm glad there isn't another one to play at the moment, because I don't think I have the patience for it right now. But it was a very fun experience. I would recommend it. I think it's a good game. I was kind of surprised because I remember when this came out in 2018, I was interested in it, but it just, you know, other things came up or whatever. But to play it now I mean, I beat it in a week. Like it was a fun experience over that week. It really, because I was getting burnt out on everything else I was playing. So it was nice to kind of get into something and like really get engrossed in it and finish it really quickly. It just was like a refreshing kind of experience. So I feel refreshed now. So I finished that, but I have been playing Gwent, the actual digital card game, and man, I really like this game. It's really fun. It's a lot different from Hearthstone, and I like it a lot more than Hearthstone. It's a lot different from like Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! And all these other card games. I like it better than, it's probably my favorite card game that I've ever actually played.
Oh wow. Okay.
And it's because it's like, it's simple. Its conceit is really simple. The whole point of the game is to get more points than your opponent in a given round, you know, and there's 3 rounds. You have to win 2 of 3 to win the game. But the way you get to having more points than your opponent is where this game is crazy. There's all sorts of combinations, and you have like a leader ability based on what faction you choose, and there's 6 different factions you can play as, and they all have different like kind of quirks and gimmicks that they excel in versus some of the other factions. And it's just a really interesting game the way it's balanced. I think it's pretty well balanced. There are some issues with balance that have happened recently, but nothing I've run into personally. I think most of my games are really close for the most part. Like the last round, usually within 5 or 10 points of each other, depending on how well we play. I have had a couple steamrolls where I've gotten steamrolled or I've steamrolled my opponent, but for the most part, it's been most of the games are pretty tight and competitive. So I like it a lot.
So is it like do you have to pay like booster packs to get cards and everything like that, or?
Yeah, so it's free to play, but it has that same, you know, conceit of any other trading card game. It has booster packs that you can buy. They're called kegs, you know, and they have 5 cards in them. They are relatively inexpensive, but Hearthstone's relatively inexpensive too. I talked about this last week. These games are, I like this game, so I'm like kind of looking past it right now.
Okay.
But these games are the progenitors of the loot box. Like
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
are the original loot box, and it's like it's kind of funny that they don't get flack for it. It's just like an accepted thing that we all kind of agree is fine for this genre, but it's like it's kind of a crappy way to make money. But the thing is with this game though is that kegs very quickly become useless to you because most of this game's cards are rare or rather epic or legendary. Like I'd say about 50% of the collection is epic or legendary, and you can only get one of, well, you can get more than one, but the chances are you're not even going to get an epic or a legendary in any given keg that you open. So at a certain point you're getting an entire keg that's duplicates, that's useless to you, that you're just scrapping. So there comes a point in the game where like opening the booster packs is not valuable to you anymore, so spending money on them is like not even worth it. And your kind of mode of progression changes within the game where you're trying to make like craft specific cards to get the cards you want for certain decks you want to make or whatever. So I think the game is interesting in that regard. I think Hearthstone is pretty similar with this, frankly, but I've been playing for about 2 weeks. I'd say it's I think it'll be 2 weeks on Thursday. And I am almost at the point already where, I don't even need to open kegs anymore. Like, and I've spent a little bit of money on it, to kind of get myself like a head start. But yeah, it's like I haven't spent like a ridiculous asinine amount of money the way I did on like, Fire Emblem Heroes or Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. It's like not even close to those games. So it's like, and it's also fairly generous as a free to play game. I don't remember Hearthstone being anywhere near this generous with its resource kind of giving free players resources. It
Yeah.
was a very like almost the game like choked you almost. Like it gave you just enough to like make you feel like you had stuff, and then you really didn't have very much at all though. Like you had very little of the in-game currency to work with. So I think this game is a lot more generous than Hearthstone, but again, I haven't played Hearthstone in like 4 years, so I don't really know what the state of that game is right now. It could be much better than I thought, or than I think it is. But this game has like this progression system in it where you'll get reward points for doing certain things. You'll like the achievements in this game give you currency that you can spend to get ore or scraps or kegs or whatnot to get you cards. So
Okay.
the game has multiple avenues for you to advance, which is why it feels fun to play. It's like you feel like you're always getting something when you play.
Oh, okay. That sounds
So
cool.
every single game you play gives you experience. It completes quests for you. You can get achievements from it, and all of those will give you in-game currency. So it's a good experience from that perspective. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. I've been playing the Nilfgaard faction primarily, but I am thinking about maybe expanding into the monsters a little bit because they have some really potent deck combinations. So it's a fun game. If you like trading card games, like I said last week, I do recommend it. I think I'm going to be playing this on and off probably for the foreseeable future because the games are short. They're like 10 to 15 minutes. So it's like, I could just do it, whenever I have a free moment. I'm waiting for something to download or something, anything along those lines.
Yeah.
So it's got appeal for me there. And it doesn't require a huge investment every day for you to actually feel like you're advancing. You can really get away with playing 1 or 2 games a day.
Okay.
So recommend that. Also been playing Apex some more. I'm trying to get back into this. I'm probably going to play tonight actually after we're done recording because the weekly reset happened. Duos got dropped. It was a balance patch. The map and the
people are pissed about the balance patch.
I know Kings Canyon came back like permanently. It's going to be permanent part of the rotation. So the game's healthy right now. I know the balance patch pissed people off, but to me, I don't like the only change that kind of pissed me off was the sniper. They reduced the amount of sniper ammo you can have in a stack from 10 to 8. So it's like if you're running a longbow, man, you need to carry like 4 stacks of sniper ammo now rather than 3. And yeah, that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. I'm sure we'll get used to it and make do. So outside of Apex, I got back into Berwick Saga yesterday after kind of taking a week off from it. I am now on chapter 12. I only have 5 battles left in this game now. So I am very, very close to the end of it. Jumping back into it yesterday, like I fell right back into it. Like my obsession with it, like restarted like instantaneously. So love this game still. The story is starting to get really interesting too, towards the end here. There's a lot of like really fun reveals and political stuff happening within the game world. So enjoying that a lot. And then I also yesterday decided to buy Darkest Dungeon on Switch because this game has always interested me, but I decided to bite the bullet and give it a shot. And it is a very interesting game. It's like that board game that we always play, Kingdom Death Monster. I know you haven't played it with us, but how we talk about how brutal it is. It's basically that game in a video game. Like that's what Darkest Dungeon is. Like the game is really unforgiving, kills your characters a lot, bad things happen to you all the time. The game is like you're gonna lose people. Just accept that. If you can't, this game's not for you. It's like that kind of game. So I like that. I'm probably gonna fall deep into this game at some point because I really so far I like the systems. Like it's really interesting. There's like a settlement that you have to like build up and kind of upgrade, and you have a party of characters that you upgrade and you take on missions, and but they can die permanently, and it's actually pretty easy for them to die permanently. So so interesting, really interesting game. I'd recommend that if you like really hard games that are like almost like I'd say almost like a town builder, but not. It's kind of a bad term to use.
Is it like a Dark Cloud type game where you did have it was like an RPG element, but also a city building element with it as well?
Yeah, okay. Sort of. I never played Dark Cloud, so I don't know exactly what you're talking about. But yes, there's a city management element, and then there's like a actually adventuring and doing the RPG side of it, like
and I'm assuming it's like based on what your city has, it gives your characters certain boosts and things of that nature.
You can upgrade your character's abilities for certain classes, and then you can buy equipment. You can there's this whole mechanic called stress, where your characters will get stressed out because it's so harrowing, to go on and go adventuring in the dungeon or whatever.
Wow.
And if they get too stressed out, they will. I don't know what happens. It hasn't happened yet, but if they get too stressed out, certain things will happen. I assume they'll get like disorders in their head, or they'll like run away, or they'll fucking not take your orders or something like that. Like I'm sure it's crazy shit starts happening when you have high stress in certain situations. So the game's really.
It sounds depressing.
Yeah. Oh no, it's definitely depressing. The whole game is so dour. Like the colors in the game are so dark. It's just like I can barely even see things sometimes because the game is so dark, but that's what they're going for. That's the motif they're going for. So definitely an interesting game. I'll have more thoughts on it as I play it more. So okay, that's it for what we've been playing. Let's move on to news. So we've had a few things happen. This happened last week. I didn't talk about it because I kind of wanted to hear Montrell's thoughts on this. So Kotaku dropped an article, Jason Schreier once again, about Gearbox, how they announced to their teams internally that they would not be getting as significant of a bonus as they were promised a few months ago. So Gearbox is a developer that is kind of known within the game industry for paying people below market rates within the industry, but they compensate that with very high bonuses within the quarters. Like they give quarterly bonuses to their employees. I think the article says they have a 60-40 kind of revenue sharing model with their employees. So 60% of the profits go back into the company and the executives, and then this 40% are given to the employees in terms of bonuses. But Randy Pitchford made an announcement last week internally that they would not be getting bonuses in many cases, and if you did, it would be significantly reduced from what they are used to. And there was a quote in here that was really bad, though. It was something along the lines of basically he said, like, if you're not happy with this, tough, you can quit. That was what he said essentially.
Wait, really?
And they didn't blame this on the coronavirus. They actually said that this game just cost way more money than they were expecting to make, and that is kind of what happened. They have a kind of contract with 2K to make this game, but before they start making money, they have to pay back 2K the publishing costs that they put into the studio to make the game, which was $95 million.
Holy shit.
And they also had to recoup the DLC costs, which are $45 million. The costs to make the DLCs that they've been releasing recently was $45 million. So it was $140 million total that they had to recoup before they started making money as a company. And clearly that means that I mean, this game sold a lot. I'm pretty sure it sold over 10 million units. But when you're talking about how taking money in, I mean, when you're talking about fixed costs and, recouping 2K's money, then they have to recoup their own costs and whatnot. There probably was not a lot left in profit after all was said and done. But it's still just like it's such a shitty situation for their developers, because in the article, many of them said that the thought of getting huge bonuses was what got them through developing the game, like the crunch that they went through. And yeah,
here we go again.
Yeah, man. I know. It's just, I don't know. These things kind of feel like they never end. I mean, I'm not surprised. Randy Pitchford's not exactly the most virtuous person on the planet. So I'm not surprised by this from him. It just sucks because people that work at Gearbox, there is not a super vibrant game development scene here in Texas. And they're based in Frisco, and they're probably one of the biggest developers in the state, honestly. And you don't have a lot of choice.
Software is out here in Austin.
That's the only other one that I could really think of that's like a
big BioWare.
BioWare's
out here.
Yeah, many companies have satellite offices here, but not like a primary office. And even those two that you just mentioned, they're not in the Dallas area.
They're in Austin,
way south. So you'd have to move across the state to work at those places. So it's the same net effect of going out of state, basically, in my opinion. The only benefit is you get to stay in the same state and, reap the lack of income tax. But, it's still, you have to move and sell your house or whatever you have. So it's like, it's kind of a rough situation for their developers because it came out of nowhere, right? They were all expecting to get these bonus checks, and now all of a sudden they're not coming, and they may have made financial plans around that, and they're getting nothing now. It's all up in smoke. So I think it's just an ugly situation, man.
I mean, I don't really know what to say about this because honestly, when I saw it, I glanced over it. I'm like, it's the same old same. Like,
yeah, the company's going to protect themselves, right?
Yeah, pretty much, and it's kind of bad,
right?
Honestly, so
yeah,
especially Randy Pitchford. I mean, he's not known, but he has this stigma from that last lawsuit or case of stealing money and things of that nature. Well, the Colonial Marines thing, in my opinion, will always be over Gearbox's head. Like, no matter what they do, that will always be at the forefront of anybody doing business with them. Because, because you literally took money from one project and dedicated it to another.
Which I think is why 2K was so strict with their contract terms, because they knew what they did to Sega,
Yeah.
And they didn't want that to happen here. Obviously, they were footing the bill for Borderlands 3, so I don't think that was ever a risk. But it doesn't matter. Like you said, that stigma is on the studio now, and Randy's still at the head of the company. So until that changes, people are going to approach them that way,
Exactly.
So I don't know. It's just an unfortunate situation. I thought it was worth discussing, but it's just like, I don't know. I feel like game developers always kind of are the ones who get screwed in these situations, no matter what, whether it's crunch or bonuses or profits or whatever. It's always the developers who are the ones on the short end of the stick. And it's never the high levels of game studios. It's never the executives. It's never the owners. It's never the CEOs or whoever the hell, it's always the people at the bottom. So
I think at this point, game developers need to move towards unionization. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like that, but they just keep getting screwed over. There's really no other option they have at this point, because this is going to continue to happen. I mean,
they have no defense. There's nothing they can do.
Exactly. And I don't know if you talked about it last week, but like, Last of Us, I think you did talk about it last week. I'm sorry, I don't know what you talked about last week. But the Last of Us crunch and things of that nature, like, that's...
Oh, yeah, we talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Okay. I got my weeks mixed up.
I mean, trust me, I told you, I black out during the show. I don't remember anything we talked about. So,
But especially since we've been staying at home and working from home and
Right,
stuff.
right. Yeah, everything's blurring together at this point.
But I feel like, and to me, that's one of the studios that you would think won't have a crunch, because it seemed like that studio's like really into their developers and things of that nature, especially dealing with Sony. But no, they had a huge crunch that was, that came out 2 weeks ago, and I mean, it sucks. It just fucking sucks. It really fucking sucks. And I don't know how long we're gonna continue to defend this type of action, or say as long as the games are good. But
Yeah.
how long is, yeah, I mean, I like diamonds, but I don't want people's arms getting chopped off for, fucking
Right. Well, yeah,
diamond carrot
the
ring,
defense for Naughty Dog was severe. It was very, very heavy. People were, man, dude, the defense force came out strong for that one, and
because
it's like
Sony. It's a Sony-based
right,
company. Like,
right.
if this was Activision or Blizzard or anybody else or EA, it would have been blasted across the headlines. But because it's Naughty Dog, and everyone loves Naughty Dog because they make Uncharted and Last of Us, and they just can't do it wrong. Like,
Right.
we're not going to hold them to the same standards, which is not fair in my opinion. We should be
Right.
blasting them just as much as the other games.
Right. All right. Well, let's move on. I guess, speaking of The Last of Us, I did talk about the delay of the game last week, but I did kind of want to follow up because Neil Druckmann's been going around talking about this delay. And he had a few interesting things to say. Hold on. Let me find the exact quote here. So he was asked if they plan on releasing the game digitally and not doing the physical release. But this is what he said. So, quote, well, there hasn't been a final decision yet. Right now, we are just reacting. It's a different retail chain. Whether we could get physical copies to people, what is the internet infrastructure there to support it in all countries? This is a worldwide game that people in every country are waiting for, and we want to make sure we're fair. If we just get it to a small fraction of people, what about all the people that don't get it? Right now, we're looking at all sorts of different options. What's the best way to get it to all of our fans as soon as possible? But that's going to take time for us to shift and figure things out and also see where the world's at. Things are changing from day to day, end quote. So what were your thoughts on this delay when you saw this last week?
Man, I think this was the biggest bullshit I've ever seen in my life. Honestly, like, not in my life, but in video games, this is the biggest bullshit. They used this virus to delay the game. This game's not ready yet. I honestly don't think this game's ready.
I mean, he said the exact opposite, though. He literally said, we're at the 1 yard line, I would say.
Yeah, and you can't pass it. You're not there yet. To me,
but they also delayed Iron Man VR.
Why? There's literally no reason why they delayed this game. Final Fantasy still coming out. Yeah. Resident Evil still came out. There's literally no reason for them to do that.
I mean, we'll see when we get to May, and if all the games in May that are slated for May still come out, then I mean, yeah,
I feel like it would be. I feel like it would be a better situation in May. Like, I just feel like the situation for the virus, because I'm taking it very seriously myself, and I feel like a lot of people aren't taking it seriously. But I feel like we would have figured out some type of system by then, as far as like shipping and things of that nature. I know Amazon's going through their shipping wars with their workers and things of that nature, and I feel for them as well. So I understand that aspect of it, but I mean, you got other retailers that are still open. Like Walmart is a grocery store, so the electronics section is right there when I'm getting my groceries. Like, there are other places that are still. You don't have to have it doesn't have to be operational, the electric side, but you can still have like maybe one worker there.
I mean, I was thinking about it though, man, because I'm thinking about Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like, where am I going to get it? I want to get it physical. Amazon doesn't have it, so it's like, what am I going to do? Best Buy is closed. Walmart's open, Target's open, so maybe I can get it there. I don't know. Things are weird right now, man.
Maybe you have to get it there. Like, that's what I was thinking. I'm like in the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna go buy these games that I want. So it's like, I'm just gonna go to Walmart or Final Fantasy to Target or something like that nature.
Yeah.
I mean, I was debating on whether I should risk it, getting it physical or just getting it digital, and I might just get it digital. I mean, health over physical, or health over video games.
I was thinking the same thing. I may just bite that bullet.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate digital, but I'll get it digital, And that's another thing too, right? I feel like, I'm sorry, it's a non-essential thing. Video games are, as much as we love them, they're non-essential. So it's not like if you can't get it, it's gonna be a life-threatening thing for you, right? Like healthcare or some shit like that, whatever. Like, not everyone, oh well, you can't play it because you can't get it digitally. You have to wait a couple more months or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be.
Well,
This
this
is
is
not a
why.
non-essential thing.
Yeah. Well, this is why I said I kind of expected a lot. I expect a lot more delays like this to happen in the next couple months, because I think about it from Sony's perspective. I'm kind of trying to think about this in the big picture, because the console, they keep saying the console's coming out in holiday 2020, but
It's not.
if it's not, this delay makes sense, because they could just punt it into the fall, and then all of a sudden they have a game to keep everybody occupied until the PS5 comes out in March or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many theories me and my group chat had about this, and keep in mind my group chat is kind of split between like I'm a all around fan. I got like a Xbox fan in there and 2 Sony fans, so it's kind of split. But we feel like, me and the other guy felt like Sony. He feels like Sony really doesn't have anything ready. I'm starting to believe that because we'll talk about that later. I saw something today, and I just wasn't impressed. And the way Sony's been moving, I really don't feel like they have me. And this is way before that virus came out, or way before the virus got really rampant. I said came out like they just dropped it. Way before the virus
China released it.
Yeah. So way before the virus became, viral.
Yeah.
Sony was really hesitant on it, and I just don't think they were ready. And
well, they like fumbled their way into fucking this up really hard, because the original rumor was they were gonna announce the console in February and have this big blowout event, just like they did with the PS3 or PS4 rather. And for whatever reason, they just kept hedging and wouldn't announce it, and it never happened. And then all of a sudden the virus broke out, and they had no choice but to do something else. And they had this GDC thing planned. I think that was planned for months in advance. I don't think that was intended to be the way they revealed the console.
Okay.
But it just so happened that that ended up being the way they did it. And it ended up being the worst way for them to do it, because now they're like, I feel like this has become haphazard. Like you said, they made an announcement today that's a big deal, and it's like, it's just weird the way they did it. Like, it's just, I don't know what they're doing right now. They just seem like they're lost,
Yeah, it's just the way they're moving. And I feel like, piggybacking off of that, The Last of Us, I feel like they told him to delay it. Like, I feel like Sony was like, yo, just delay it. Wait for the PS, because we don't know what's going to happen with the PS5, so we need this game delayed. We need a fall game. Like you said, I think they are going to use this as their game to hold over people. I went a step further with it in my group chat discussion, and I said I think they're just going to remaster the game for the PS5 and launch it with the PS5.
I don't think they do that.
That's
too long.
That's too long.
That's too long. If the game is truly complete and they're just squashing bugs, like they just be holding the game.
But that's another thing, Justin. This game better be fucking flawless by the time it comes out.
Right. Yeah.
It has to be. Because there should be no bugs present or anything. This game needs to be flawless.
This game was originally supposed to come out last year.
Yes.
2019. And that would be a full year delay.
It's damn near about to get. I think it's going to get a 2-year delay. I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be ready till the end of this year or next year. So it's going to, in my opinion, it's going to get 2 years or a year and a half maybe.
Yeah.
That's
well.
I know we talk shit about Square, like. Yeah. But I don't know, man. This is just weird to me, because the gameplay footage they released is just, man. And I'm just like, well, is there anything else?
There's one other piece to this, though, that is interesting, is that they've said nothing about Ghost of Tsushima, which comes out a month later. So if you're going to use the coronavirus as an excuse for Last of Us, it really kind of stands to reason that Ghost of Tsushima is not safe either. But I don't think they're going to move that game. I feel like they're going to go full steam ahead with that game, which then kind of makes me think that both The Last of Us and Iron Man VR, which I mean, nobody cares about Iron Man VR, but I'm lumping it in because it was part of this whole thing. They're probably just not ready. And I kind of agree with you that they like almost need the extra time. And the fact that they're all working remotely is probably destroying their efficiency to the point where what would take them a month is now going to take them 4 months, to like squash bugs and polish the game up. So it's like I can understand it from that perspective. So it just makes me wonder though about Ghost of Tsushima, because like I always thought that game being a month after The Last of Us was a really stupid idea. So this kind of solves that problem, which is why I think that game's not going to move its date, even if it isn't fully ready. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird situation. They've just been doing weird shit, like announcing that game and making it a month after The Last of Us was never a good idea either,
Yeah, and honestly, I felt like they could have used Square's Final Fantasy VII Remake and Resident Evil, because a lot of people are playing that game. They can use those as examples, right? Like, I'm pretty sure Resident Evil doesn't have a huge install base, as big as the install base as The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Even though it should be bigger, but
yeah, it's. I mean, it's big, but yeah,
I'm pretty sure it doesn't have the just.
I'd say about half the size, maybe.
Yeah,
that's probably what I guess. Which we're talking about Titans here, so
exactly. So I feel like they should look at that and like, well, whatever Resident Evil sales, I'm pretty sure the sales are gonna come out next month, and whatever the sales are, I mean, that should be more than an example. It'd be like, if the sales are really good, then hey, more power to it. Because a lot of companies, retail, have like the online sales are jumping through the roof. So this is why this is so weird to me, because just say, hey, we're going to do a digital release. Everyone who pre-ordered it physically, you can get a code, or you can wait for the physical release. Like, that would have solved a lot of problems, right? Like, we can send you a digital code, or you can wait for the physical release, which is going to come out a couple of months later, or whatever the case may be. Or you can do both, right? You can like, hey, we'll give you a code for the digital, and then when the physical is finally released, you can go out and get the digital for free. We'll give you a coupon or a voucher or something of that nature. Like, that could have been the rollout for this, but they just delayed it. And I feel like the reason why I feel like too, because I know a lot of people were saying, like you said, well, it's because of the virus, man. It's just, well, not you didn't say that, but like a lot of people were saying it's because of the virus and they don't know what they're gonna do. And I just felt like they didn't explore any avenues, and that's my issue with a lot of Sony stuff. They just don't explore avenues. It's just like, this is what it is, and we're not going to explore anything else.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that mentality has led down to their companies, because I mean, the points you just made really made sense. I don't think maybe Sony is. I think this is maybe just a Naughty Dog thing. I think Naughty Dog is probably just like, yeah, we're going to use this as an excuse to not release it. Maybe Sony do want them to release it, because that's true. They would have delayed Ghost of Tsushima. Like, they would have delayed that game.
Yeah, they're so close. Like, you could use that excuse for both of them. We don't know what June's going to look like. We don't know what May's going to look like. So, I mean, nobody would really bat an eye if they delayed Ghost of Tsushima with it.
Exactly.
But I think you're right, though, because a detail we didn't mention yet is that they've taken this game off of the PlayStation Store, and they are refunding digital pre-orders, which means this game's not going to be coming in a month or two after this. Like,
exactly.
I think the earliest we're going to see this game released is September. That is the earliest I see it coming out. I could see it as late as the PS5 launch, like you said. I think more realistically, we're probably looking at October or November. Yeah, but that's kind of my guess right now. But worst case scenario, I think you're right. PS5 launch is it, and that would be fucking crazy to me. Like, because, man, dude, that would be a nightmare. If they release the PS5 in March and this game doesn't come out till then, that is a nightmare. That is a total nightmare. That's a nightmare scenario. Like, ugh.
Yeah, that's why I just really think they should have released it digitally. The simple fact that they didn't try that option, or didn't try some kind of ulterior option or anything, like, that just tells me this game is not ready at all. Like, there's probably going to be a huge patch if the game did come out. Say the coronavirus didn't hit, and this game is supposed to be slated for what it was slated for. There's probably going to be some huge patch, and there's probably going to be I don't want to say a lot of bugs, but not as polished as we would expect a Naughty Dog game to be. So I'm really wondering how big this game is because they're taking this like super seriously. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I mean, the way they're talking about it and how long they've been working on it, dude, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 25 hours or 30 hours, like, which sounds insane. But you do have to remember, though, God of War kind of set this bar because that game was 40 hours. Like, honestly, like to complete most of it, to do most of the side content and stuff was 40 hours. And I think to platinum it was like 60 hours. So that was a big, big game. And
Okay.
it almost makes me wonder if Naughty Dog like had some like
Had to
envy
live up to
there
that.
or like felt pressured to kind of meet that same bar, or they just felt like they had a game that they needed to make huge, you know. They've said that before, but I don't
does seem like it
understand
has
why
open
these
world
games don't
elements
need to
to
be
it.
that long, you know.
Yeah.
God of War I can understand because it had like side quests and shit, but I don't know.
It does look like it has an open world element to it. It has that linear open feel to it. From the clips I've seen of Last of Us 2. Speaking of God of War, it's just a sidebar. You see that crazy shit that was on Twitter? People,
What the fuck? What? This game has been all over my feed the last 2 days, and there's been this like war going on about like how God of War's trash. This game sucks. Like, what the fuck are you people talking about? I saw the same thing with The Witcher 3 too. Like, what is going on? Are you all going crazy? You just want to be contrarians?
the virus is getting to people, man. They inside. So the one guy I watch a lot, Cosmonaut.
Yeah, Cosmonaut Marcus. Yeah,
Like I love his opinions and stuff like that. But this
that
was a really
bait.
bad take.
That was bait, bro. It was bait. It was totally bait. He's just baiting all of you.
Yeah, man, that was a really bad take because he compared it to Hellblade, and I don't like Hellblade.
Yeah.
But holy shit, he's like, oh, you're going through the same 4 sections with the same 4 combos, bro. Hellblade barely has combat. Like
it's like you don't even have combos. You just swing the weapon, right? Like
yes. So and a lot of people were like, yeah, you know, compared to the old God of War, this God of War was just like, you know, very shallow.
Fuck all of those people. Can I just say something real quick? I played almost every God of War game back in the day. None of you used anything other than the fucking light attack with the Blades of Chaos. Like, none of you did anything other than square, 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 triangle, square, 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 triangle, and then a grab when you could. Like, that's all you all did. Because that's all you needed to do in that game. Like, fuck all of you people.
Yeah, they're saying like
a bad faith argument, man.
They're saying like the RPG elements weren't really RPG elements. They were just there for cannon fodder, and like I can see where they're going with that. But to me, like it just added a little layer of depth to the game because like some of those power ups make a difference when you're fighting people and things of that nature. The stats do make a difference, and I'm like a super person into combat, and I love the combat in God of War. I mean, like I said, it could have been a little bit more over the top, but I understood why they scaled it back for the sake of the story. And like just it being out of place, just it being really like God of War-ish, rather, like the old God of War would have been out of place for the game that it was trying to, the tone it was trying to set.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
Right.
And I mean, the combat is still to me pretty brutal and wonky. Like the old ones, they just somehow managed to make it more scaled back and realistic. I don't want to say realistic, but more
heavier.
Yeah, that's a good word. Heavier. Yeah. And I still feel the same when I'm playing with Kratos as I did in the old ones. I just feel a lot more emotion behind each swing and things of that nature when I'm fighting with the tourists and things of that nature. So I just, and then the story was, this is the first, not the first game, but this is one of those games that get combat and story really good. And on top of that, you got all this dialogue and things of that nature when you're swimming in a boat and all this just good shit. Like it's almost
great world building and lore
great world. It's a Mass Effect game. Like it's literally a Mass Effect game.
No,
it's
so good,
really
dude.
It's really good. And I was just blown away when people were saying, yeah, I agree with that. Hellblade's combat is just way better. And I'm like, yeah, bro, you know what? Hellblade is just Devil May Cry. You got it, bro. It's just
oh my god. These people are just like they're starved for attention, Montrell. Like they're all stuck in their homes. Marcus is stuck in his home too. He's fucking I'm calling him out. Fuck it. He does this shit all the time. I see him on Twitter. I follow him. I see him all the time do these fucking takes where he's like, "Oh man, I wasn't as good as I remember." You know, fucking like whatever, dude. Fuck you. Like fucking fine. You can hate everything then, okay?
And that's why I follow him, right? Because he's such a
he's a troll. He's a fucking troll.
He's so cynical, and it's just so funny. But that was that one got me. That one he baited me with that one. I'm like, you know what? You got me.
Well, dude, like I said, I saw it with Witcher 3 too, where people were like bashing that game. I'm like, what are we even talking about right now? These are objectively good video games. Like, I don't understand how you could say that they're bad.
Only thing
like,
I will say with Witcher 3, which people were kind of right about, in my humble opinion, that the combat's kind of
yeah,
story,
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you.
The story carries it along so well, though,
yeah,
that the combat, it works with the game, if that makes any sense. Like,
but
it just
you
works
realistically
with the game.
say it's a bad game?
No,
like,
it's not a bad game, though.
Like, come on.
I can't say that. I cannot say that.
Yeah,
I can understand people saying it's boring.
Yeah.
But saying it's bad, that's a bad take. That's a really, really bad take.
Yeah.
And that's why
the same way about God of War.
Yeah, and that's why I thought it was just a bad faith argument, because
they're just trying to trigger people, man.
Yeah, man, it was such a bad faith argument.
Yeah, which is why I saw that tweet and I saw people engaging, and I was like, I almost was like, did the that's bait thing, because man, that's how it felt to me. I was like, man, he's just trying to get people riled up.
Even Andy from Kind of Funny comment on it. Even the one of the developers.
No, wasn't it Corey Barlog?
Yeah, it was Corey.
Because I follow him. Yeah, and I think that's why I saw the tweet, because Corey replied and was like, something along those lines. Like, I was like,
everyone was just stunned by this. Like, I was just like, what are you talking about, Marty? He's like, do you have the viruses in your brain or something, bro?
Yeah, man.
That was a really bad take.
Yeah. Hey, man, he'll be fine. I'm not worried about him. When he talks about Star Wars, next time he talks about Star Wars, he'll get like a million views.
He'll be right there. Yeah,
man.
There.
All right, okay, let's move on to our next story. So this is a short one, but it is an interesting. The ESA obviously canceled E3 for this year, but they have announced dates for 2021. Man, so it's going to be between June 15th through 17th next year, which means to me. So it's funny. It is a really funny thing to drop right now, but it is interesting. It's almost like a power play, basically saying like, all you people who want us to die, we're not going anywhere. Like, that's kind of what I take out of this. That's how I feel about it, at least.
I guess, like, we don't even know if there's gonna be a fucking vaccine next year. So, like,
yeah, man, who knows? Yeah, we could still be in quarantine next year. God forbid. I hope not.
God forbid. Yes, please, God. No.
Yeah,
I mean,
please,
as much as a dream that I thought this would be, no, this is terrible.
Yeah, no, this is awful. This might be one of the worst experiences of my life, and I don't even have it. You know, like, I don't know anybody that has it. Well, I know you who knows somebody who has it, but like, I don't know anyone in my direct family that has it. Like. And this just sucks. I hate this whole situation. And yeah, I just want it to be over. I want to go back to normal.
We were just talking about it a couple weeks ago, like a month ago. Like, oh man, I wish I had more time to play video games. And now we do have this time, or I have the time and stuff like that. And it's just like, I'm like, yeah, this is what I thought it would be.
Yeah, this isn't supposed to be the way life is, man. It's just, it's like, you don't feel fulfilled, right? Is that like, that's kind of how I feel. As much as I have extra time and like I have a couple extra hours in my day, like I don't feel fulfilled. My sleep schedule is all fucked up. I woke up at like 1:30 on Saturday, dude. Like, it was fucking terrible. I woke up at 1:30 and I couldn't fall asleep till 4 a.m. on Sunday morning. You know,
Same.
It was like
that's been consistently for me. It's
crazy. It's horrible. And I had to work on Monday, so it's like I'm like trying to go to bed on Sunday, like at midnight. I can't fall asleep, man. It's horrible. It's affected me this whole week so far. It's like, and it's just like life's just like thrown out of whack. You know?
Yeah.
It's I don't know. So yeah, I want it to be over. So, at least the ESA, I got to give them some credit, are trying to act like things will be normal next year.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess, man, that's funny though. That is a really funny story.
It is funny. I mean, people want them to die though. People
I don't
really
want them to die.
I
just want them to do better.
It's one of those things though. I don't understand what a layman like you or me, like, what do we gain out of E3 dying. You know,
I feel like E3
I don't understand
dying,
why people root for these things.
it's just weird, man. I think people just tired of the status quo as far as like gaming.
They just want to change.
Yeah, they just want to change, and I understand that. I just think for things to change, the major players have to change, and I think Xbox is doing that. I think Nintendo's definitely doing that. I think Sony's coming around to changing because they're a little bit on the slow bus there, but they're coming around to it. And I think other companies are following suit. I think a lot of things are changing, and the ESA needs to understand that next year's E3 has to be really phenomenal. They have to entice Sony to come back. They have to. Like, there is no other choice. They need to entice really good things because last E3 was okay. Xbox did their thing, but besides that, it was kind of boring. I mean, I don't know. That was just my opinion of it, though.
Yeah. All right. This final story of the week, this is probably the big one, I guess. We were kind of alluding to it earlier. So Sony dropped today on the PlayStation blog. You guys can all go read about this. They announced and showed pictures of the PlayStation 5's DualShock controller, which is not called the DualShock. It's called the DualSense. It's the new wireless controller for the PS5. And, man, this was a divisive announcement. I'll just say that. I sent it to you, and your reaction definitely painted the picture for me.
Check your Twitter real quick. I just tagged you. So it's related to this. It's related to the story.
Well, so they did announce a bunch of features along with this announcement.
Okay, I didn't read the features.
Oh my god! Why do you have to send me that during the show, dude? It's
I wanted your reaction live on the show.
It's a fucking Stormtrooper helmet on the PS5 controller, and it looks legit. That's pretty funny. That's a good one. I like that. So they announced a bunch of features with it. It's going to have a speaker built in to the device, so you don't need a headset. It's
cool.
also going to have not a speaker. It's going to have a microphone built into the controller, so you don't need a headset to chat with people. But they still recommended you get a headset if you're going to game for long sessions and chat with people. They also mentioned the haptic feedback of the controller, which is basically really advanced rumble. They're going to be able to do really interesting shit with that to get you more immersed in games. They also said the triggers, they're going to be a little bit different. They're going to have some tension on them. So they'll like if you're pulling back a bow, it'll feel more like you're actually pulling the bowstring back and you feel that tension when you press the button. So some interesting stuff like that. It's nothing like crazy. They did announce a share button that is a create button that is going to replace the share button, and it's going to have some new functionality to facilitate content creation on PS5, which is interesting. And then in terms of the look, so the controller is actually two different colors. So it's got basically it's almost all white, but where the analog sticks are, and basically along the edges of the two like handles of the controller on the inside is black. And then there's kind of around the touchpad, which, yes, the touchpad is returning. They are putting the light bar that everybody loved around the touchpad, and it looks cool, but I don't know why they're bringing the light bar back.
I like the light bar. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's a nice aesthetic. It's not needed, but it's a nice aesthetic.
Okay, because I remember everybody fucking hated that thing when the console first came out, dude.
I hate the fucking touchpad. That shit needs to fucking go. I don't understand why.
But dude, if it's gonna be backwards compatible, they can't get rid of it.
That's true. That's true.
They have no choice. They're like locked into place with that kind of stuff. So, but I mean, what do you think of the look of the controller? Because I know you didn't seem like super excited about it.
So I like it. The reason I said
I do too.
is because it didn't like wow me, but I do like it. All right, I love the look of it. I love that it looks like an Xbox One controller because
it looks very futuristic.
Yeah, exactly that too.
But yeah, that point you just made though, the Xbox One controller is what I took away from it. It is very, very close to an Xbox One controller, like it in terms of form factor. It's a little fatter and it's also a little thicker, like height wise. Yeah. And it's not quite there. It's going to be like thinner than an Xbox One controller, but it's close. It's getting close. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I like this. Because, yeah, I mean, I like the Xbox One controller, but I don't necessarily need all of my controllers to look exactly the same, or have the
Yeah.
same form factor.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. My only take is from this is the public reaction. People were like, "Oh man, this looks fucking cool," and it does. But I
Yeah.
remember when the Xbox One controller came out, and everyone was like, "Oh, this looks fucking trash. This is trash.
Yeah.
Look at the
Yeah.
DS2 or the DS4 looks way better." But they look the same now, and this is brand bias. That's why I was just like, I'm going to see the reactions to other people, and I have been seeing it, and it's just you can definitely tell the brand bias. But I think this controller looks really good. I personally don't like the stick placements. That's just me. I never like the stick placements of Sony because
That's kind of a preference thing. I've got obviously I played so much PlayStation, and I'm sure you have too, that you kind of are used to it, but you move back and forth between the consoles, and that's got to be disorienting as fuck.
Yeah.
Going from like the offset to the not offset, it's like
and I don't know. I feel like the Xbox One controller rather, is just so much superior than the PS4's controllers and everything of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Even to the point where I bought a third-party controller for the PS4 that looks like an Xbox controller.
Yeah.
Because that's how much I like the design and the stick placement for it. But I think this design is like really fucking cool.
It looks sleek.
Yeah, it looks sleek. The triggers look really cool. The light bar situation, that looks cool. I do have issues. I think the buttons are going to be a little bit too close together, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. They also don't have colors on them. The way they now, which I'm not a big fan of. I actually kind of hope they change their mind on that, because I always liked the fact that Sony's controllers had like colored buttons. The cross being blue, the circle being red, triangle being green, and then the pink on the square button. But this controller design does not have that. So
yeah, I think they really do need to bring the colors back for the. I understand the look they're trying to go for.
Yeah.
But because it almost looks like, maybe it's just the pictures. It doesn't look like the buttons are raised that high. I'm pretty sure
no,
they are.
It doesn't. That's something I was looking at pictures. Yeah, I'm trying to find like a picture that isn't like straight on. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, there is one actually on the PlayStation blog, and you're right, dude. The buttons look like they're almost like they're not flush with the controller, but they're damn close. And I don't know about that. I think,
because I'm just thinking about the wear and tear, right? Like that's gonna be really bad.
Well, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. Because when they don't, like, dude, if they get stuck or don't press in, you're not going to be able to get them fixed,
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to take the controller apart, which that's not good.
Yeah, I mean, that's my only big concern, though, because I'm looking at the D-pad, and just from that view on the PlayStation blog, like you said, like they don't look too raised. Where I'm looking at the PS4 controller right now, and the PS4 controller the D-pad is super good. And it's really good for fighting games. I just don't feel like that. What I'm looking at right there, it just doesn't look like it's going to be really good.
The D-pad looks okay on the controller, on the new controller. I think it's the face buttons that I'm worried about more than anything.
I'm worried about both of them.
I mean, the D-pad looks fairly raised from what I can see. But
yeah, I mean, I can see it. I guess I just got to get it in my hands and see how it feels.
Right. Yeah, and that's going to be true for everybody. I don't care whether you like it or not right now. Like, that's really the ultimate test, is when we get it in our hands and feel how it feels. I will say two other things with this, though. I am really this color scheme actually really excites me for their, like, once the console's launched and they start launching like different color schemes.
Yes,
they're going to be able to make some really dope ass controllers.
People have already been photoshopping colors and they look really fucking dope.
Seriously, I saw somebody make a Mario version of the controller because they were making a joke about how it looks like if you put Mario's like outfit on the controller, it looks like Mario in a controller. Like, it looks like the overalls, like the middle part. Like,
yeah.
And it really did. It's kind of crazy. So there's some really cool. I think they're going to be able to do some really cool stuff with colors and making the controllers look cool. And then for like collector's edition designs and stuff like that, I think they're going to be able to have some really cool stuff with that. And the other thing with that is that it makes me wonder about the console's color scheme, what that is going to look like, because it's going to have to match the controller, which
Yeah,
makes me wonder it's probably not going to be all black,
I think they're gonna go with the white
I do
console
too.
this time.
I've always liked the white for Sony. My first PS4 was actually the Destiny one that was the Glacier white or whatever, and I fucking loved that console, the way it looked. Like the
Yeah,
controller was so good. I love that white controller. It was great. So,
yeah, I think the white looks really good. Some people Photoshop the black on it, and I don't think the black looks. A lot of Sony fans are like, the black looks way better.
yeah,
I know the black has been a standard for PlayStation since PlayStation 2, but I don't know. When I got this white PS4, that kind of changed my opinion on the PlayStation constantly being black. I think
mm-hmm.
the white design looks really dope on it. Whereas the contrary to the Xbox, I know the Xbox has been black too, but I like the black Xbox design. The white Xbox design looks really cool. But I have the teal, like this teal aqua color of my
Mm-hmm.
Xbox, and I think that looks fucking dope. So I hope Xbox continues to I hope
Yeah.
both the console makers continue to make different colors.
Yeah.
Because this
Well,
seems like the
Xbox
only
has that design lab that you can make your own controller color scheme, right?
yeah. Well, I'm talking about the console as well, though. I like the
Okay.
whole
Yeah.
the whole color schemes of the different consoles because the only company or the only um developers that really did that was like Nintendo. They had different colors of the GameCube and different colors of
The N64, yeah, and the GameCube.
N64
That
and
was
everything
really
of
when
that
they went
nature.
crazy with that.
Yeah. And even like the Wii and the Wii U, I mean, they had a black and white version,
That's
but
true. They had a red one. They had
they
a
had a
blue
red
one.
one. And then the Switch, obviously, they're coming out with crazy colors now for the Switch Lite. So I hope the console makers. I don't know how much it costs to make different colors. I would imagine maybe a couple cents more. It's like literally just a paint job, but I don't know.
I mean, once they get it set up, I don't think it matters because, yeah, Nintendo actually just released the program in Japan, and I hope this comes west, that you will be able to order Joy-Cons with different colors, whatever colors you want of the ones that are available, and then you can order the straps, the straps you can put on them.
Yeah.
Those can be different colors as well. And you can order those from Nintendo directly. So they're doing a similar thing as the Xbox design lab thing. And I hope Sony does something with the PS5 controller. I hope they do
Sony
something
needs
similar.
to do something with this
because,
design of this controller. They need to do
oh,
something like that.
I would love to be able to customize button colors and all this shit on this thing, and it would just look so fucking cool.
Yeah.
I think you can make some really cool looking designs with this controller. So
Yeah, this design is really sleek. Yeah, I mean, I do wish how you said. I didn't even think about that because even with one of my Xbox controllers, all of the colors are the same on the Xbox.
mm-hmm.
As far as the buttons, all the X, Y, A, and B, they're the same color. I know the placement by heart.
Is that true? I thought they were
Yeah.
different colors.
Well, on one of my controllers,
Okay.
the main one that came with my different color Xbox, like the main controller, that color is different. But if you can go out and buy another Xbox One controller, like the main white one that comes as standard,
Yeah.
or the black one, those do have different colors for the different buttons. But like the color theme ones, they don't. So this is what I think. I think this is a color theme, and I think the black one, which is going to be the standard one, this is my prediction. I think they're going to have a black one and a white one, and the black one, which is going to be the standard one, that one's probably going to have the color codes on it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I think this is more so like an icy white theme or something like that. They may have different color themes once it drops.
Yep. All right, cool. All right, let's move on to game release dates. We only have one this week. Obsidian has announced that their game Grounded, which was announced, was first revealed back in October during the Xbox. What the hell is that conference called that they do every year? I can't remember. It's their version of like PlayStation Experience or whatever that they did in October, where they announced a bunch of new games. But yeah, Obsidian's Grounded, which is a survival game that is based on. So you are like a bunch of kids that got shrunk. And they have to survive. Yeah. They have to survive in the real world, like in their neighborhood, really small. Like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids kind of thing, where like spiders are huge and ants are huge, and you have to like live through that. So it actually sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, I did see that. That was on their on that stream they had, and I saw it.
Yeah, it sounds kind of cool, but I'm surprised it's coming out so soon. They said July 28th, and it's going to be on Steam Early Access, Xbox Game Pass, or Game Preview, and Xbox Game Pass for PC on July 28th. So I guess it's going into early access. So I guess that makes sense in that case. But sounds kind of cool if you're into survival games.
Out of that phase now, but
yeah, I know we have a lot of them. They're a dime a dozen, right?
Yeah.
At this point. All right, let's move on to game releases for the week. This week, not a lot coming out besides obviously one big game, Final Fantasy VII Remake, that is coming out on Friday. However you decide to get it, you'll be able to get it digitally for sure, but physical is going to be a little bit more of a challenge for you. So be creative with how you get this game. You may have to just bite the bullet and get it digitally. But look around, see what's open. You know, if you got Walmart, Target near you, which I'm sure you do, they'll probably have it. You'll probably be able to get it that way. But yeah, Best Buy's closed. I believe GameStop's closed, but they are taking orders, so you might be able to get it from them. Nothing else I'm really seeing here interesting coming out this week. I think we are kind of going into a lull here in the next few weeks, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think anything really like huge is coming out soon. So, all right, cool. I think that's it for us. You got anything else that you want to discuss before we sign off?
No, we discussed the God of War thing. That was the big one I wanted to discuss.
Yeah, man, we got it.
That really bothered me.
Yeah.
But no, I hope everyone's staying safe and gaming and things of that nature.
Absolutely. Stay safe, stay inside. You know, if you have to go out, you know, follow the guidelines, 6 feet away from each other. Don't fucking breathe on people.
Please stay 6 feet. I was in Kroger the other day and people were right up against each other and I didn't understand it. I don't think a lot of people are taking this seriously. So if you guys want to go back to work, which a lot of people do, I do, and everyone else wants to go back into the office instead of working remotely because we're over it now.
Yeah.
You guys got to take the quarantine thing seriously.
Yep. But you can only take care of yourself. So make sure you do that. Do what's in your best interest and stay inside. Okay. So if you like this episode, please like the episode, review the episode, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you're listening to it on. And if you could, please share it with your friends. We are looking to grow the audience in these quarantine times. You know, you got nothing better to do, guys. You know, let's start a conversation. Let's have a discourse. If you'd like to ask us questions or just interact with either one of us, you can do so on Twitter at iTrap4the Hokage, for Montrell. That's the number 4, not the word. I am at ThunderNet01, and the show is at the Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, like I said, you can do it on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. Otherwise, that is it for us. Next week, I have no idea what we're going to be talking about. I'm sure it's, you know, something will happen or nothing will happen, and then we'll have a short show, which that seems impossible. So we hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we will see you on the next one. All right. Bye, guys.